Hello, everyone, and welcome. आइए समझते हैं. Let's understand exactly what is going on behind the scenes of human memory. It's honestly an absolute mystery to so many of us, right? Like, how on earth do we manage to carry around our entire life's narrative inside our heads? From the lyrics of that one catchy song you haven't heard in 10 years, to the exact floor plan of your childhood home, or even just the dense facts you need to pass a big exam. How does the physical, squishy, biological matter in our brains actually capture and hold on to all of this stuff? We're talking about storing thousands upon thousands of complex memories here. It is a massive, beautiful biological operation. And in this explainer, we're going to walk through exactly how a fleeting temporary thought transforms into a permanent memory.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever seriously wondered how your brain handles thousands of memories? You know, it's a question that feels pretty simple on the surface, but the implications are absolutely staggering when you really stop to think about it. Every single day, you are bombarded with just an unimaginable amount of information. Sights, sounds, facts, random conversations, intense experiences. I mean, if your brain tried to hold on to every single piece of data with equal weight, you'd be completely overwhelmed in a matter of minutes. Yet somehow, your brain effortlessly filters, organizes, and handles this immense library of thousands of memories. It keeps the important ones accessible while just letting the irrelevant noise completely fade away. How it actually pulls off this organizational miracle is exactly what the source material we're examining today sets out to explain.
Section 1. The beginning of memories, the scale of billions of neurons. So whenever we see, hear, or learn something brand new, a truly massive biological process kicks off.
We're looking at billions of neurons sending tiny electrical signals to each other. Imagine this, a vast, dense network inside your head, rapidly firing back and forth, zap, zap, zap. It's a literal biological storm in there. These aren't large, slow movements we're talking about. These are incredibly fast, tiny electrical impulses crossing microscopic gaps between billions of cells, all happening simultaneously. Every single time you process a new sight or a new sound, this high-speed, energetic signaling is firing off. It's exactly like a massive city lighting up with electricity at night, with messages just zipping from one neighborhood to another in mere fractions of a millisecond.
So, the crucial point is understanding what happens next in this electrical storm. Memory formation is the process where the connection between these neurons becomes stronger if the information is deemed important. It's not just about the signals firing randomly, it's about what happens when your brain decides, hey, those specific signals matter. When information is recognized as important, the pathway between the neurons that fired together physically reinforces itself. They bind tighter, they become a priority channel. The biological bridge between those specific cells is fortified, making it so much easier for that exact same signal to travel across in the future. This physical strengthening of the connection, that is the literal biological definition of a memory being formed.
Let's move to Section 2, the role of the hippocampus, where the magic starts. Now we're shifting from the abstract concept of memory to a very specific physical location in your brain.
Initially, memories are formed in a part of the brain called the hippocampus. You can basically think of the hippocampus as the brain's initial bustling workshop. When those massive storms of tiny electrical signals fire and when those new important connections are first trying to bind together, they all gather right here. It's the staging ground. Every new fact you learn today, every new face you see, must first pass through this specific anatomical workshop. The hippocampus takes these fragile, brand new electrical connections and holds them, carefully preparing them for the next stage of their biological journey.
Section 3. The brain is not a computer. Myth versus reality. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it completely interrupts a myth we all kind of just accept as fact.
We tend to think that a memory is like saving a file on a computer hard drive, right? Like it's just sitting in a folder, completely unchanged until we double-click it to open it. But based on our source material, the reality is entirely different. Look at this comparison here. Memories actually exist as strong connections between living neurons. The brain doesn't just passively save static files, it physically changes. It literally alters its own structure. It grows and strengthens living biological connections. A memory is not an object you just place on a shelf. A memory is a living structural change in the architecture of your brain. It is an active, ongoing relationship between cells.
Moving to Section 4, how to solidify memories, the blueprint for attention. This is where it gets incredibly practical, because we're going to look at how you can actually use this biology to your advantage to massively improve your own memory.
Let's move to and see how this builds chronologically. We can easily trace the journey of a single thought through 3 distinct steps. Step 1, the neurons fire. That's the initial exposure, the tiny electrical signals sparking when you first encounter the information. Step 2, hippocampus processing. That's the thought entering the workshop we talked about, where those initial fragile connections are temporarily gathered and assessed for importance. And finally, step 3, long-term storage. This is the ultimate goal, where the thought leaves the temporary workshop of the hippocampus and becomes a permanent, structural part of the broader brain. But, how exactly does a thought make that critical leap from step 2 to step 3?
Well, the source provides us with 2 very specific conditions required to make that leap. Think of these 2 points as the biological cheat codes for your memory. Number 1 is repetition, or repeated recall. Remember, we aren't saving a digital file, we are strengthening a physical connection. Every single time you repeat the information, you are forcing those exact same neurons to fire again. The more they fire together, the stronger the physical bond becomes, massively increasing the chances of remembering it permanently. And number 2 is during sleep. This is absolutely crucial. While you are resting, your brain is actually working overtime. During sleep, your brain literally takes those reinforced connections from the hippocampus and formally transfers them into other parts of the brain for permanent, long-term storage. So repetition builds the bridge, and sleep cements it permanently into place. I absolutely love this quote from the source material because it entirely recontextualizes what learning actually is. Your brain is creating new paths. When you realize that memory formation isn't just some abstract mental exercise, but a highly physical one, everything changes. Every single time you study, every time you practice a new language, or every time you deliberately repeat a fact you want to hold on to, you are quite literally terraforming your brain. You are building new roads, forging fresh physical pathways through a dense forest of billions of neurons. You are physically changing the landscape inside your head with every single new thing you choose to learn.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly empowering thought. Knowing that you possess this vast, dynamic workshop capable of building endless new connections, what new paths will you choose to build in your brain today? The machinery is right there. The billions of neurons are just waiting for your signals, and the blueprint for retention is completely in your hands. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to go out there today and give your brain something truly fascinating to build.